All right, let's do some more tier listing. So, I've read a lot of the feedback on Reddit, or well, I say I've read a lot of the feedback. I've read like two comments on feedback. Nah, I've actually read a little bit more than that, but I've read some of the Reddit feedback. It's nice to know people are wanting to discuss this stuff. That's kind of why I made the tier list anyway, not because I know what's the best, but because I know that the second you put out a tier list, you're gonna get people talking about it, and I want to know, what other people think is good. Stuff that I think is pretty broken or pretty overpowered. Do other people think the same, or do other people think, nah, it's just sort of only good for your playstyle or whatever? Anyway, without further ado, let's start rating the cultural traditions in the warfare category. The reason I'm doing them category by category is, well, one, it would be a lot of it'd be a lot of little images if you were rating them all. I do plan on doing that though at some point, but they also don't really each playstyle. This is sort of one of the problems. Each playstyle requires different traditions. So at least warfare has a sort of straightforward goal, right? You're taking these warfare traditions because you want to do better at combat, with the exception of one that I can think of ahead of time, which is the pirates one. But without further ado, let's start. So, adaptive skirmishers. Looks pretty decent. It's okay. It has a penalty though. I honestly think now the more that I look at it, it's not actually that great. Especially seeing as how there's some of the other stuff on this list. So adaptive skirmishers, I am going to put in C tier. It might actually even be D tier, but we'll see. Battlefield looters. Battlefield looter seems interesting. Losing 75% fame from battles is actually pretty huge. A lot of people might not know this, but battles give you quite a bit of fame. Some battles, if you are supposedly the underdog, you can get 500 fame in one battle, and that's pretty significant if you want to get your culture high up. I mean, getting gold for fatalities, it's nice, but think about it. You're like most battles will maybe have you'll maybe have 1,000 fatalities on the enemy side, or maybe 2,000. So that'll be 10, or that's like 10 or 20 gold. It's something, but I don't know. I don't think it's huge. Battlefield looters. I think it's also C tier. I think B tier would be a bit too generous for it. Formation fighting experts. Sort of the inverse of adaptive skirmishers here. It's a bit better than adaptive skirmishers, I want to say, but I'm gonna just put adaptive skirmishers down here. It's a bit better than adaptive skirmishers, but I don't think it's B tier. So I think it's gonna go in C tier. Some of these guys are cut off here, but we know what these are. Frugal armor smiths. Losing out on like the toughness of your I'm sure like 20% knight effectiveness, and losing out on like the toughness of your men at arms is pretty bad. I know this sort of stacks, so you can technically get it to like stack to the point where you have a huge amount of discount on men at arms. But yeah, it has good stacking potential. Honestly, it has good stacking potential, but it does have a lot of downsides. I'm very tempted to put it in B tier, but I think it also belongs in C tier. Right. Recognition of talent. Opinion from granting partners. Strong hook from granting partners on recruiting prisoners. From granting pardons and recruiting prisoners. This can be strong dependent on playstyle. This is pretty okay. This is decent. I'd say recognition of talent. Depending on playstyle, it's pretty. I'd say recognition of talent deserves B tier just because it is generically good. Reverence of veterans. Right. So this is pretty strong for like these cultural bonuses. Granted, you don't want to get disfigured. Like Scar doesn't matter, but you don't want to get one-eyed, disfigured, one-legged. One-legged is not that bad, but maimed. It's like I mean these sort of stack with each other, but I don't know. I think this is not. Uh, this is cool. This is very cool thematically. I really like it, but I think it's C tier because it's not. It's not the best, right? It's not. You don't want to go out maiming yourself, or maybe you do. Honestly, it might actually be B tier because if you play like a very militaristic style and you really lean into this, you can pretty much always get scarred, guaranteed, and 5% general opinion of the same culture and 10% prestige pretty much always is really good, and then occasionally you can get into these territories. Stalwart defenders, it's interesting. It's very much a win more sort of dealio. Defensive war peace acceptance is pretty good. You can combine this with the negotiation one, so that you can very easily get white pieces and defensive wins. I'd say for that it deserves B tier. Strength in numbers. I personally think strength in numbers is really strong. Like I think strength in numbers is in contention for S tier. In fact, watch me be controversial and put it in S tier. Swords for hire. Eh. 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 I don't rate this that hard. I don't rate mercenaries that hard. You're much better off having men at arms. Mercenaries are incredibly expensive in CK3. And this helps, but this doesn't help enough. If this was a mercenary discount of like 50% for the same culture, it would be good. I don't consider this good. I might be wrong, but that's my opinion. Warrior priests. Warrior priests, I consider it has a very muted benefit. I think it's also D tier, if I'm going to be honest. Warriors by merit. Actually, C tier for warrior priests. Sorry, warriors by merit. I think warriors by merit is a bit stronger than warrior priests. Does it deserve B tier? I'm very not sure. I think it can also sit in C tier as far as I'm concerned. Though getting Blade Mastery is pretty good. I'll put it in B tier. Forest Fighters. This is strong because forests and taiga cover a lot of the map, and having 10% more levies is good. 25% more supply limit in forest and taiga is good because it's a benefit that only you will have and not your enemy. All these extra stuff, all these extra things, like I have not looked at the recruit force specialist decision. In fact, I might do that now. Let's see. Ooh, I don't think anyone starts with forest fighters. That's gonna make looking through it a bit harder. Anyway, even without knowing what exactly this benefit does, I think forest fighters is good enough to be A tier. Highland warriors. Is this hills? This is hills, yeah. Sort of like forest fighters. It's sort of like forest fires, but not as good. Is it significantly worse than forest fighters? I don't think so. Like the hills are pretty common. Like, Anatolia is full of hills. the Middle East is full of hills, North Africa is full of hills, Central Europe is full of hills, Iberia is full of hills. If you're in a hilly place, you're either gonna have a lot of hills or you're gonna have a lot of forests, sort of wherever you go. Like, sure, plains is the most common territory, but I think it deserves A tier. Hit and run tactics. Oof, minus 20% siege weapon effectiveness. I think that's really, really weak. This is nice. This is nice. This siege is such an important part of this game. Like, wars take as long as sieging takes, pretty much. So, because you can't win on battles alone. You can white peace on battles, but you can't win on battles. So for that reason, I'm putting it in C tier. Horse breeders. It's pretty strong. It's not incredibly strong. It depends on how heavily you lean into this, right? I'm not considering horse breeders if you don't ever recruit any cavalry, because obviously that would be nuts. So if you lean into this benefit, it can be reasonably strong. I think it deserves a B tier for that, at least. Jungle warriors. There's not a lot of jungle on the map. I'd say it's decent. It's B tier because there's just not that much jungle on the map. Like, in fact, hold on. Let me look at the terrain. Yeah, jungle is, as I said earlier, it's only in India. It's only in Southeast Asia, aka Burma, and it's only in Africa. So unless you're playing in those regions, it is not there. So yeah, so that's my verdict on that. But if it is there, then it's obviously good. But because of that, I don't rate it as highly as these do. You might think why that doesn't make that much sense, because surely if you are in India, then Highland warriors and forest fighters would be worse. Yes, you're right, but I'm rating it sort of as a, I'm rating it as though you're taking it as a, I want it to be like a wide, like if you have a wide play style or whatever, you're gonna benefit more from forest fighters than you are from jungle warriors. I want it to be more generically what is generically good. Longbow competitions. You can recruit longbow men at arms. Longbow men get better every era. I don't know by how much, but I think they're quite strong, aren't they? Let me just have a look see. Yeah, honestly, they're pretty tough. They get even tougher. The downside is spearmen and heavy cavalry. That's a bit of a shame, but you can just get heavy infantry if you don't want spearmen. I'm gonna say this is strong. Having longbowmen is just a good ability. I'll put this in A tier. Mountaineers, same reason as jungles. I'll put it in B tier. Only the strong. So 100% knight effectiveness bonus is really good. This is pretty bad to as a counterpoint to it. I think only the strong is A tier by virtue of its impact, though it costs a lot. You're paying for that 100% knight effectiveness. Even tempted. Actually, I'll bump it out to B tier. Quarrelsome. This is strong. It's a strong ability. It's pretty much that same as the religious tenant ability. Lets you have a conquest, stasis belly. Vassal opinion is kind of bad. Control growth is kind of bad to have. Cast ability cost is good. If you're going for an aggressive playstyle, Quarrelsome is strong. Stand and fight. Stand and fight is good. The maintenance. God, men-at-arms are already expensive. Having to pay 20% more maintenance on them for 10% toughness, it's a bit rough, I want to say. For that reason, I don't consider its benefits good enough. Like, it's not. If you had this, and you could also have, say, one extra heavy cavalry, one extra heavy infantry regiment, and one extra heavy spearman regiment, if it increased their size as well, then I'd say, yeah, this is worth it, because, you can have more tough guys on the field. But 10%, I don't consider high enough bonus for 20% increase of costs. But that's just me. So I'll put it in C tier. Warriors of the Dry. Let me look at like the desert. Is it desert and drylands that this counts for? Because if it is, then it's good. Desert and drylands. Yeah, that's good. That's along the same lines as forest and highland. If you're in the Middle East, you're going to get a lot of dry land and a lot of desert. And same if you're in, North Africa. There's plenty of deserts in the map. Winter Warriors. I don't rate this one too well. Winter Soldier. It's a fun trait. Winter Specialist. Can have winter bonuses. This depends on where you are, obviously. Personally rated as C tier. It's not as generically good as the other ones. Malleable Invaders. It gets to be an S tier. This is one of those things that it's just very good to have on your culture until you are certain until you have like all your culture converted to exactly what you want it to. So yeah, that's gonna be it for the military tree. Let's see what the you can see the end results here. I can even enlarge it a bit. This is what I think. Obviously, this is just my opinion. But let me know what you think. If you want to comment, feel free. This template should be available, so feel free to use my all those virtual paper cuts I got from copy and pasting this from the Crusader Kings wiki. Don't let those go to waste. Feel free to use my tiles to make your own tier list. And yeah, have a nice day. I will see you guys next time.